Early certification courses would set the stage for a new paradigm in training for armed citizen defenders. With very few options for instructors, a different approach to training. The IDS APEX program would facilitate a new path forward, providing a safe haven for the best instructors and armed citizen defenders in the world.
That's the point.
Minnesota Martial Arts Academy.
I want them to get failing publicly and all of the benefits that come with that.
And these men would take the lead in redefining the meaning of what it means to be a citizen defender and dare to take on the most elite self-defense black belt test in the world.
Oh yeah, this is a good test. This is a real test.
The IDS Apex Octagon Challenge, I handpicked some of my training partners that are more than a handful. They're going to be going up against Olympic hopefuls, world champions, MMA professionals, and the like. Our guys will be carrying a gun.
Mark my words. It's harder to do this when you have a gun on than when you don't.
Fight IQ, being able to adapt to whatever's happening. All of the disciplines are interdependent upon one another. Think of the top 5 firearms instructors on planet Earth. How many of them would have gotten through the first 30 minutes of day one of this test with any level of skill? How many? I'm teaching you how to fight. 9-4. Integrative defense strategy. Fight IQ, the new paradigm in training for armed guardians. We're not teaching you how to be a gunfighter. We're teaching you to be a fighter with a gun.
Hey everybody, Coach Curtis, Joe O'Brien. We're going to have Todd Fossey come on here in a short little while. Not sure why the audio didn't work on that particular video, but it is one of those mornings. So what's going on, Brian?
What's going on, man? That was an intense video, very intense, and going to get a little bit into that, asking some questions about how he developed all this stuff and everything. If you missed the first episode we have with him, go back and watch it on YouTube. It was great. It was fantastic. That's why we invited him on for a part 2. It was more than worthy to have a part 2. So,
yeah. Well, let's go ahead and bring him on. Hey, Todd, what's going on, man?
How's it going?
Kurt and Brian.
How's it
Good
going?
to be here. Good to be here, man.
Just the layout on this.
Can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me okay?
You're good.
All right, good.
So what's going on? So what is it? So we just showed a really cool video. Can you explain to us, walk us through the details of this video?
I'm sorry, Kurt. I couldn't hear you there. You're a little muffled. Could you repeat that question?
Yeah. So we just showed a really cool video of yours. Could you walk us through it and explain the lead up to it and some of the context?
Yeah. So the video is a promotional trailer that covered what we call IDS Apex Level 7. It's really the equivalent of our black belt test for our firearms instructors that we certify from across the world. And so the point of the trailer is to promote a series of episodes that we will be releasing, about 4 or 5 episodes that we'll be releasing as sort of a reality-based format over the course of the next 4 to 6 months or so.
Wow, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Brian, go.
Okay, I can hear you now. It was cutting out. Yeah, that was fantastic. I mean, that shit's intense. I could see why only the best of the best like you said, they take that test. I guess when we're going to talk today about just going into how you develop this whole program and the test, and this kind of let you have the floor and what you think that a lot of the firearms tests are lacking today. What do you think they need to add in there? I'm stirring it up. Already,
well, first of all, just let me say this. I mean, I think it has to be intense. I mean, if you're going to be an instructor at all of any discipline, right? Let alone all of them, right? Like all of the disciplines are woven together with what we do. That's the name of our business, right? Integrative defense strategies. It should be intense, and it shouldn't be for everybody. And especially if you're someone who's ambitious enough to go for a black belt test in general, but especially for us, like if you're going to be teaching this stuff and doing this stuff, then we need to know who you are, what you're made of, what you're capable of, and also, what you can teach, right? And how good you are at transferring information. So, what we do isn't for everybody. And it might sound elitist, but it's not meant to. But it's good. Our process is gonna weed people out, and you should know. Those guys have been training with me now for 5 years. So this has been a very intensive process. That's the 8th level of certification with us, and each certification course is 3.5 days. And then they go back to their schools and organizations, and they train and practice and teach all of these things now for 5 years. So we don't take what we do lightly, and we don't think that anybody should take this lightly.
Especially when human lives are involved, people's safety. You have to definitely be on point with your game as far as teaching the curriculum and everything. So with your students that you pick, did they come from all walks of life? Are they ex-military, ex-law enforcement? Are they just basic civilians like real estate agents or school teachers? Just tell us a little bit about your students.
Well, there's a difference between, we have students, right? So where I'm at right now, or on my farm, and I have a training center on my farm called IDS Networks, and all we do is research and development here. Maybe I can go show you if you guys want to see it. But that's all we do. And those people are all regular people who are trained at a very, very high level, right? I mean, they're soccer moms, they're accountants, they're welders, they're all walks of life. Some of them come from law enforcement and military backgrounds, but to be honest with you, most of those people are the least skilled. We'll have people come in, who are active right now, and they'll want to drop in and kind of flex their muscles to show what they're capable of. And our soccer moms are running circles around them. I mean that. That's not exaggeration. It's a different context. They're out of their elements. They just don't want to admit that. And so then we have, professionals. We certify instructors, and we have an affiliate program where we have affiliates and professional organizations on 4 different continents now. So those people are, they're pros, and so that's sort of a relative term too in our industry, right? What does that mean? You're a professional, because there's professionals out there who shouldn't be. So. Yeah, those guys that you saw in the video started with a group 5 years ago that was 15 strong, and then we finished with 5. And then we have several others that are coming up through each series of levels. We have several others.
We're losing your audio, Todd. We're losing like the signal for your audio.
How about now? Was it the wind maybe?
Yeah, that's right there. Yeah, it's good now.
If I keep walking, can you hear me okay now?
Yeah.
Okay. Is the wind bad?
Yeah, it's the wind.
The wind,
Is it? Here,
yeah.
let me move. See if that helps.
So I changed my headset. Hopefully this is a little bit.
Oh, that's way better.
There you go.
It's way better. So yeah, and we have a lot of those guys. Those guys can they can do it all. That's the point. And we have people that are coming up through the ranks right now who are the same way, you know, because they work really hard at it. They've dedicated their lives to making the world a safer place. This is what they do every day, all day. They train and teach. This will take me just another second here. If you guys want to talk for a second, I'll grab some.
Yeah, no worries.
Sounds like aliens are landing in the background.
We've been preparing for winter all day here, so that's why I'm outside right now, because I've been out here hustling, getting ready for the snow to fall.
Yeah, we had snowfall here a couple of days ago, and yeah, it's like 20 degrees out right now.
Oh wow!
Oh wow!
77 over here.
Yeah, we had record snowfall, like an emergency shutdown of everything up in Anchorage about a week ago. Yeah, it was pretty entertaining.
Oh wow! We've had an extended fall, which is really nice. Can you guys still hear me? Okay.
Yeah, we got you.
We have an extended fall, which is really nice. So we're taking full advantage of it. It's in the 40s here today, which is like perfect.
Nice, very nice
for us. And but here my girls is we have horses and miniature donkeys, so they'll probably be hanging out with us a little bit today.
No, that's excellent. So plans moving forward. So you did this level 7 certification. So how often do you cycle through bringing people up, or is this like the first culmination of a level 7 certification for your guys' particular methodology?
Yeah, this is the first one. This is the first. We call, you know, we use the term black belt test so other people understand what we mean, but belts don't really mean much to us. And in fact, we didn't give out a belt for those who graduated. We gave them what we call the Citizen Defender Bracer. So it's a really cool leather bracer.
That's cool.
For their right arm. Yeah. It depends. Some are averaging, you know, about 1.5 to 2 courses per year. But it really depends on the individual, you know, in the program. Okay. Yeah.
So you say you started out with what, 15, and you end up with 5?
Yeah.
So when talking about the attrition rate there, what are some of the factors that take them out of the running? So we can explain some like the levels of difficulty, not just in the physical aspect, but say like some of the mental and emotional aspects there. Because I mean, it takes a lot to put it on the line and also be mentally and intellectually, professionally competent in something this important.
You know, I'll say this, that I would say out of the 15, about 10 of them are still affiliates and they're still within our program. Yep. They just haven't progressed up to this level yet, or they aren't ready, or we just let them know they're not ready for this level. They're still in preparation for it. The attrition rate out of the 15 that started with them, 4 or 5 of them are no longer directly affiliates with us, but we still have good relationships with those people. Some of them were like training for, they were like DT instructors for their law enforcement department, and they retired, you know. Some of them met up with a kind of financial hardship, and so they're sort of on pause right now. Mm-hmm. One of them actually had a medical problem where he lost a leg, so he's recovering from that. So those are the types of things that do that, but that kind of cause the level of attrition. But okay. It's really about the level of preparation, the process itself. Like many of them will tell you that level 1 was the hardest thing they've ever done in their life, and that was level 1.
Okay.
So we have a higher level of expectation, and the pressure increases with each level. You know. On the other hand, as we go, depending on the school and the person who's a candidate to become an instructor, we can scale it for them. I can let them know, hey, look, you'll probably never make it to level 7. You'll probably never pass level 7, but we can scale the level of intensity for you in terms of physical, mental, and emotional intensity for you. Mm-hmm. But so that So that way you can continue to accrue the knowledge and pass the knowledge on to other people. You just may not be one of those people who's able to make it that far,
Which
And
leads to, oh, go ahead.
we actually have people at the lower levels that came out to that test just to show their love and support for those guys who went through it. So and they learned a lot just by watching the process. It's a teaching test. I want them to learn and to refine them as instructors, as individuals, and as practitioners throughout the course of the test. But make no mistake, the expectations, we don't have standards because violence is not standardizable. Mm-hmm. We have expectations, and the expectations are obviously very high.
Nice. So this is a train-the-trainer course in a very, I say, broad term. Would that be accurate in a lot of ways? So you're saying
sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
For some of them, yes. For some of them, no. Yeah.
Okay. So, which leads to another question that I have. So, consistently we run into in our industry, the martial arts industry, is this thing about the balance between competence of skills and curriculum-based competence. So, to further explain that, we have a lot of arguments amongst our industry about, can you regurgitate the curriculum? Do you know the stuff to teach it? Is there a solid curriculum, but does that equate to your physical skill set? Because you can be really good at regurgitating data and giving off factual information, but can you pull it off? But on top of all that, if you can pull it off, can you do it vice versa by reintegrating and regurgitating that information? So there's always that tricky balance about curriculum versus skills. What are your thoughts on that?
I have many. I could go on for weeks without taking a breath. By the way, do you guys mind if I have a cigar?
Go for it.
Only if you share them.
I wish I could. I've been working my ass off, so I'm going to take this opportunity to enjoy myself a little bit while I'm on here with you guys, because I enjoy you guys. So
yeah.
Are you sure that's just tobacco, right?
I can't confirm nor deny that.
Legal here.
Damn it. Legal here too. When you're talking about your instructors, now, like you said, not everybody can be an instructor. They're like, if somebody walks up to you, they're in the higher level, and they say, I want to become an instructor, it's at your discretion, obviously, right, for them to test. Like, if you don't think they're ready, then or you don't think they have what it takes to be an instructor, you're going to be like, good.
We do a series. We give them a lot of feedback, and we do a series of debriefs on them and evaluations on them with where they're at, and we don't tell them what they want to hear. We tell them what they need to hear. We're not going to do them or the world the disservice of bullshitting everybody. And this isn't a certificate factory. Can you guys still hear me? Okay.
Yeah, you're fine.
Yep.
So Kurt, to answer your question, the best that I can. That's a really difficult question to answer, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. That's why there's so many arguments over it.
especially in this format, we're like worlds apart and talking, and I'm smoking a cigar.
I love it.
I want to say this. Before don't let me stray too far away from the question, so steer me back. But what we do and the approach that we take is so radically different that it takes, like, it's taken these guys 5 years to begin to understand, even not to begin to understand, but have a deeper understanding of what it is that we're doing here. My background is in human performance, right, and neuropsychology. So the approach that we take to teaching and learning is very different than what the rest of the world does. The rest of the world does they're working from what's called a reductionist model. So our educational system is a reductionist model where everything is broken into blocks, and they're teaching in parts, and they're teaching to the tests, right? They're not teaching people how to think critically. They're not teaching people how to perform. And the learning is standardized. It's not tailored to the individual. and it's not tailored to the organization. And so what we do is radically different. What we do is we take an ecological approach to what we teach, which is tailored to the individual and tailored to their organization. So we let them know, we don't want you to be an IDS. That's the name of my organization, IDS. We don't want you to be an IDS clone. We don't want you to be a Todd Fossey clone. We want you to be you. We want you to be your own DNA. We want you to internalize and express this in a way that's authentic for you. And we want your school and your organization to be its own DNA. We want you to be able to pick what works best for you, and we want you to process it and feed it back to your students in a way that works best for you in terms of how you communicate. It's because because the process is so, not standardized. The evaluation process is radically different than what most people are accustomed to. And in terms of the evaluation, yeah, you might be able to regurgitate curriculum, but what's the depth and breadth of your understanding of it? And how can you perform it with real live resistance under stress? We make a lot of our evaluations happen, over 90% of our evaluations happen during different types of randomized scenario-based exercises, and a lot of scenario work. But not just, our evaluations of the instructors aren't just how they perform during the scenarios, but how they design and lead the scenarios as exercise controllers as well. So that way we can take a large spectrum of different skills, and we can throw them all into the blender. So they're experienced and expressed all at one time. Does that help? Does that help?
Yeah, it does. Because what's interesting is this the 3-stage balance that we run into. You have the physical skills and capability, then you have the potentiality of a person, then you have the actual physical skills competence matching to the intellectual understanding and capability. And as age progresses, we lose that physical capability because of wear and tear and age on the body, even though we have the skills knowledge of how to do it and then the curriculum knowledge. And so it's that issue of, I really wish I could go back to my body in my 20s, but the brain that I have now approaching 40, because the experience and knowledge set. And I can imagine that's the same across the board for a lot of people in our particular field, is that they have all the knowledge and experience and that mindset already in place, but they may be lacking due to physicality deficiencies, such as injuries and wear and tear and such.
Yeah, that's why I said that it's scalable.
Yeah.
Right? It's scalable for the instructors and it's scalable for their students. So it will look like, a lot of our stuff is very intimidating for a lot of people. But most of the time it's intimidating because they're afraid of looking bad. It's not because they can't do it at whatever scale they're capable of doing it. It's just that, that's the paradigm is people they train so that they can look good in practice. They don't train so that they can perform well.
So you're saying they're training for Instagram rather than their capabilities?
It's a fear of failure.
And the 3 hours of takes that it took before they actually showed one in a video.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of the training that we do, like not for this course because we need to have a different production quality, but the other videos that you've seen from our other instructor courses are taken from live feeds. Like we're literally rolling live while we do it. And then we extract the clips that we want to share from live feeds. So we're very transparent, and we don't believe in hiding anything. And we encourage people, like I said in the video that you just showed, we encourage them to learn to be comfortable failing publicly. So that way we can inspire others to fail publicly as well.
Yeah, I used to shoot live streams on our sparring nights, just so for, again, getting my fighters used to being performative live. And also, there's also the marketing standpoint, but that aspect of transparency for the team and for our audience. So extracting clips is great, but again, like you said before, there's a lot of people that just pick out the best after so many failures. So
the failure is the most important part. It's a biological requirement for myelination and competence to even occur at all. It's literally a scientific biological requirement. And social media has really created actually the industry in general has created such an unrealistic expectation of human performance. And getting back to what you're saying earlier, there's a vast difference. There's a universe of difference between an intellectual understanding with somebody who can verbalize something and somebody that can actually do it. There's a lot of people in this industry who are what I call Monday morning quarterbacks, who make their living off of videos of other people being victimized, and they talk a really good fucking game. But I've said to several of them directly to your face, don't tell me, show me. Don't show. You are exploiting people being harmed and killed, and you're standing up there in judgment of how they performed. And you're also standing up there in judgment of how other people are training. So, put up or shut up, shut the fuck up. I've invited them to come and train with us. Shut the fuck up and show me what you can do without being an overly produced fucking video, And there are some people who were law enforcement who use their SWAT, but I've trained SWAT teams, right? So there are people on SWAT teams who can't walk and chew gum at the same time. That's a very relative term, okay? And they use that, right? They use that credential as a way to attract people or to make themselves look good, right? But I've never seen them touch hands and do a live go ever. I've never seen a hair out of place. I've never seen them fail at anything. Only things that are going to look perfect so that I can craft an image for the public to consume. That's fraud. That's fraud. In any other industry, they would call it what it is. That's fraud, right? And that's creating a cognitive illusion instead of reality.
It's all about the almighty dollar. And when it comes down to it, that's what it's all about. More students, more money. And if failures are shown, you're not going to get anybody coming to your thing, right? I mean,
it's all about narcissistic supply.
Yeah.
It's all about them being exalted. It's about them being worshipped. It's about them being praised. It's about them getting attention. It's about them being put up on a pedestal. Then it's about the followers that goes along with that because their ego is fed by that. Right. And then it's about the dollar. If you were to ask them and break it down into reality, which one is more important to them? I promise you, it's the narcissistic supply is a much more important currency to them than the dollar is. But make no mistake, those two things go together.
Which is interesting because, social media has created such a problematic but interesting paradox when it comes to presentation of martial arts or presentation of any industry, because it's here to stay and we have to use it and we have to adapt to it. But the circumstance we run into is this idea that I have 1 million followers, that must mean I'm really good, versus the instructor, they maybe have 1,000 followers, but they are very good. So the followers isn't necessarily intrinsic to the skill level. Now,
it's a built-in conflict of interest.
Yeah,
it is. When people are rewarded for putting out bullshit, entertaining bullshit, so they get rewarded with followers and financial gain, then that's a built-in conflict. And there are very few people out there who have the moral fortitude to stand firm with the truth. And I'll tell both of you too. There are people that we know that are very good at feigning that they are humble, that they're feigning that they're selling reality. Remember, every great deception is 90% true. They're picking and choosing the truth and the reality only when it's convenient for them. I promise you. And this is why I put out a rant this week saying I'm done. I'm done with the industry. That doesn't mean that IDS is done. It's just that we are operating so far outside of this bullshit paradigm, this fake paradigm that relies on fucking the suspension of disbelief and depends on people to participate in make believe and cosplay. I am done. I'm done, man. Like I said, I'm done. I can't stomach any of it anymore. We're doing our own thing. If there are people out there who will really crave the real deal, and they want to really cultivate skill, and they want to earn something that's real, that will really make them a better person, make the world a safer place, then they'll come train with us. And we don't want anybody else. We will take quality over quantity any day of the week. And 90% of the people plus that are in this industry will have no interest in what we do, and they won't have what it takes to participate in it.
Yep. Because like the larger issue across the board is, we'll say organizations as a broad term. The amount of followers, particular to or members of an organization, is more about the organization, more about followership, rather than the individual core skills of the people there. Again, quantity versus quality. Because you get a lot of these large organizations out there that have a lot of bodies and have a lot of attention, but how much quality control do they have at its core? Better get what are their core principles, and do they stay true to them? Because this has been a conversation ongoing in the FMA.
I know. I apologize for interrupting you. There might be a little bit of a delay, so sorry about that. I know for a fact that one of the largest, if not the largest, training organization in our industry, specifically in the firearms training industry, puts pressure on the people who certify their instructors to make sure that they're passing and certifying more people, because their percentage of their pass rate isn't high enough. I know that for a fact, and I know for a fact that they threaten to drop them from that role if they don't increase the percentage of people that are passing.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you right now, their expectations are so low already to begin with. Like it's staggering. That it's shocking. I'm shocked at how this even occurs, and why anyone would even want to participate with it to begin with, other than the fact that they get status by being associated with some brand.
Yeah,
that's the biggest thing. I have a friend that just took a local firearms course here in El Paso, and he told me he's taken other courses all over the United States. He said this one was shit, but he hasn't done it in a while. But it was that status thing. He's like, man, I haven't done it in a while, but now I finally got certified. It was like a big deal to him that he got the status thing. It wasn't the quality of the training. It was like a thing he gets posted on Instagram or with a certificate and Facebook. And I told him, but what kind of quality training are you getting? And he was like, well, I already know how to shoot a gun. It's not really quality. I just want that status again. I miss it. And I'm like, well, what good is status going to do when your life's involved? You know what I mean? So there it's the thing to put on your social media. It's not the status thing, like you said.
I want to jump off on that, if I may. I'll hear people say all the time on social media and in person, that person was a really good instructor, was a really great course. And I'll ask them back, well, how do you know?
Mm-hmm.
What qualifications do you have on the science of learning, motor learning, and skill acquisition to know whether or not it was a good course? Because you liked them, because they were good at bolstering themselves, because they like to puff up their status, because they were good at presenting, they were good presenters, they spoke well. You think that because those things happened that was a good course? Okay, cool. You are just praising how good that was a good course. Come and train with us for 3.5 days and tell me how well that worked out for you.
So you're saying that charisma does not equate to competence?
Not at all. In fact, as I mentioned in our last episode that we did together, there's a lot of research out there that says that the more famous that a person is, this is called the halo effect. Mm-hmm. The more famous a person is within a specific discipline, the lower the less reliable their information is.
Because they're relying upon the regurgitation of stuff that's on brand, the expectation, and the gag or the skit, so to speak.
Yep. Their shtick. Their shtick. Recently, I just heard a video of a very famous instructor in our industry who was talking about the difference between knowledge and skill, and that you can have knowledge, you can talk about it, but you have to train. But I also know for a fact that person has told me that they travel 52 weeks a year. So my question is, How much are you training? Really?
Yep.
How much time are you putting on the mats every year?
Mm-hmm.
Really? How much time are you putting in with all the different disciplines every year? You're not. You're not. You are projecting, and you're it's projection 101, and you're accusing people for the things that you're doing yourself. But you're up there on this pedestal, and everyone praises you like you're some kind of a freaky cult leader, and they'll just take everything that you say at gospel, and they won't think critically at all. The first moment I heard that, I'm like, the level of hypocrisy here is so obvious that I just can't even believe that anyone buys this shit.
Oh yeah. But I mean, social media has got us sold on this, and this is where I feel that going back to that smaller group setting, not so much about the very public facing look at all the people training with us, but that smaller group setting that is, again, going back to the backyard, going back to the garage, and actually creating a core group of people that are physically competent, have understanding of the curriculum, and more importantly, have core principles and fundamentals of being good human beings.
100%. 100%.
Popular doesn't mean that you're passionate. Popular doesn't mean that you're principle based. And I feel that because of social media is more about the presentation rather than the principles of human ethos and quality control, it creates this weird circumstance of, because you have so many followers, that means you're good. That means you're moral. That means you're amazing. That means you're on a pedestal.
Oftentimes it means the opposite.
Yeah.
So way more often times it means the opposite. There was something I was going to say, jumping off on that. And I honestly can't remember what, maybe it'll come back to me. I honestly can't remember what it was now, but, I know. I got it. The entire paradigm is fake.
Mm-hmm.
It's an illusion. And they have people believing in an illusion, and you can't take an illusion and turn it into reality. It's just, the entire presupposition about how it was created is so fake and out of date that that's why I'm out. That's why I'm out. Like, that's why I'm not participating at all anymore. Because, like, is it any measure of success to be successful within a culture that's fundamentally fake and flawed? Yep. It's not. And one of those things, especially in the firearms training world, that you'll hear all these instructors talk about, competence, and they'll use all these buzzwords. And one of the buzzwords that they'll say these skills are perishable. Well, are you creating programs that allow people to come and train multiple times a week, years on end? No, you're not. People are showing up to courses that are 2 days long. They're doing seminar format that are 2-3 days long, that are make it biologically impossible for any level of competence to occur at all. And in fact, it does the opposite of that, because it fans the flames of the Dunning-Kruger effect, where people of low ability suffer from an illusory superiority and a metacognitive inability to recognize their ineptitude. So I want to be careful, because I can tell I'm saying the same things that I said in the last episode that we were on. But the point is, like, it's fake. And unless people are willing to really dive in head first to truth and pursue the truth and pursue reality, then I just don't have any interest in them.
So this is a part about interviewing a student, because just willingness isn't enough. They have to come with this mindset of attention to detail to learning, having a critical mindset, let alone the making sure they match up to your ethos and your sense of morality. But making sure that the student is the right fit is so important. They may have a lot of money. They may have a lot of reach and followership and a lot of connection. But do they match up to what works for you, as what can you provide them for information, and can they keep up with you critically, intellectually?
The public doesn't know any better.
Yeah.
That's because all they've ever seen is bullshit. So they believe that bullshit is the truth.
Yep.
The public eats a lot of stuff up, but you're right. And you were talking, I'm going to go back, we were talking about, because somebody has 10,000 viewers or subscribers or whatever. People look at that, and like I said, they think, oh, well, this guy has this many, people on here, then he must be doing something right. Let's go train under him. it's like if you buy something in the store, right? You got like some, what do you call it? Something that's more expensive, and you get a generic brand, right? They're both the same shit, same ingredients. You think they are, but like you're gonna buy the more expensive thing because it's obviously you think the cheap thing's not as good quality as that more expensive item.
And what they're doing is they're exploiting human nature. But the thing is, like, people need to have enough self-awareness to know that that's human nature and that you're just being attracted to something that's shiny.
Yeah,
you know, you want to touch the magic. This guy was Delta Force 40 years ago, and he has a criminal record, right? So therefore, like, I don't even know. Like, I honestly, like, I don't even know. He's a felon, right? Like, I don't even know where to begin with just how out of control it is. So, big middle finger to all of you who do that shit. Fuck all of you. Look at my face. Fuck you. And for the people that do business with them, fuck you too.
Yeah.
Especially for those people who know better. You know, congratulations. You all want to stand around and have a circle jerk. Good for you. Good for you. Rock on. Rock on.
All that fucking shit going on. A whole lot of that going on. Dude.
No thanks. No thank you.
So you're saying association to what you used to be, what your job used to be, your previous station in life, is not necessarily a good means to gauge what you're doing now, what you're currently doing, because what you were isn't necessarily what you're doing now.
No, one has almost nothing to do with the other one.
All right.
The context is completely different. The environment is completely different. The decision making is completely different. The tools that are used are completely different. It's a different world. It's a completely different thing. This is why we're training citizen defenders who specialize in training citizen defenders, because they are citizen defenders. I don't know how much more complicated it has to be.
So I was going to kind of piggyback what Kurt said. So yeah, you're right. Like, you were a SEAL fucking 20 years ago, and now you're using that to bring students in. But can we? Is it safe to say? Can I say this? I know you guys have both probably like bam beat the shit out of me. Is it safe to say that you could take some of that experience and kind of like transcend it into your material? Not just the experience. I know it's different. Like, so a special operator obviously is different than the guy who's gonna walk on the fucking street, with his family, and going to the store or something like that. But I'm saying, can we take that experience and extract it?
I honestly don't think so.
Okay.
I'll tell you why. Because they have been so heavily indoctrinated. That's the lens and the filter to which they see everything. That's why they take what they did in the past and just superimpose it onto everybody else. And I'll tell you another reason. Here's a statistical fact. And anybody listening to this can look it up. Okay. 80% of those operators, 8 out of 10 are psychopaths.
Yeah.
This is a psychological fact. So look up the different descriptions that categorize a psychopath, and you tell me if they're willing or able to modulate at all.
Yep. I see your point.
And what in our industry attracts, it's just packed with psychopaths, sociopaths, and malignant narcissists. They're everywhere. You can throw a rock and hit 12 of them before it hits the ground. They're everywhere. Everywhere.
Because we have some very public-facing, veteran social media characters out there that are very capable, have a very excellent background. They also fit in that, like, team violence, here we go, that definitely hits those list of, that's a psychopath. We love them for it. Break them out of the box when war is necessary, but still.
But the thing is, like, they have to be. They have to be. Their selection process and their psychological selection process has to weed out the people that are not psychopaths. It does, because they have to be willing to do things to themselves and put themselves in position and do things to others that people who have high levels of empathy can't do and aren't willing to do. And don't get me wrong, like, those people are amazing. They are amazing human beings within that. Michael Jordan's a psychopath. Listen, they are amazing people within their specific scope. They have a unique set of attributes within their specific scope. But by and far, that's where it ends.
Okay. And they can say whatever they want about me. They can say whatever they want, but listen, you're no sacred cow, man. Like, it's not sacrilege for me to say the truth. And I know that the name of the game in the human experience is to shoot the messenger. Forget about the person who's perpetrating fraud. Forget about the person who's perpetrating evil. You're going to attack the person that's pointing it out. Ask me how I know that. Ask me how I know that cancel culture is alive and well in the firearms and martial arts industry. Ask me how I know.
Well, how do you know?
How do you know? I'm asked twice.
That's how I know.
Smoke and mirrors, huh? A whole lot of that going on. You're right about that. Mm-hmm.
So I just put out people can look up a rant that I put out on social media this week that I don't do that often. Maybe I should start doing it more, but let's shift gears. What do you say? Let's talk about function. Let's talk about function and what we can do. Hopefully we can shine a light. That's important too. We can shine a light on all the fake bullshit that's out there. Right. Oh, I got something else I want to say before we shift gears. I'd like to talk about training and training approaches, but for those of you who are social media influencers who think that you are morally absolved from just covering and putting out the content on these people, I'm here to tell you, you're not. You're not.
Part of the problem.
That you are the problem. That comes back on you because you are the ones gleaning off of their psychopathy and their malignant narcissists. You are the ones who are taking that false persona and amplifying it and pushing it out to the world. So you don't get to be duplicitous and just pretend like, well, I'm just the guy who produces the content. No, fuck you. Trust me, I ran in those circles for a long time. Fuck you. Fuck you, because you're the one who's running around trying to smooth these over. You're the one jumping in on the threads, trying to make it all better and explain it all the way. You're the one, fanning the flames of all this fake bullshit. So you're not absolved from any of this at all just because you're the one who creates the content, right? Figure it out or get out.
Enablers.
They're called flying monkeys. You can look this up in psychology. They're flying monkeys. They're the sycophants that surround themselves with the malignant narcissists and psychopaths and do their bidding, oftentimes without even asking. This is what they do. It's like the Wizard of Oz, the flying monkeys that did all the dirty work for the Wicked Witch.
Yeah.
They look it up. It's an actual psychological designation. They're flying monkeys for psychopaths and malignant narcissists. It's that simple. That's what they are. They're social media influencers. They work for the platform. They work for the algorithm. They work for views. They work for gaining attention. That's how they make their money. And just because sometimes they'll dabble in the truth doesn't mean they're telling the truth.
Yeah. They definitely do that a lot lately. I've been seeing that. I know a couple of people. I'm not gonna say names, but yeah, I've been seeing that a lot. I've been trying to stay off the Facebook a lot lately. I'm just getting tired of seeing this shit too, just like you. The shifting gears, we're talking about the stuff. I have a question to ask you. So when you developed the IDS, what skills, like besides the firearms, like grappling, striking, like what systems, martial arts systems you look at, that you say, like, I want to put this because I think this is valuable and I want to put it into my system? What did you look at?
I don't know if you guys can see this, but my donkeys are like infatuated with the smell of my cigar right now.
I saw them coming in there. They are.
They're like, is that something that I can eat? They're super cute. And if you guys ever are like, miniature donkeys are really amazing pets. They're so smart. They're hyper empathetic. They're just amazing pets. Really. I love them. You can talk to them like people. They know exactly what you're saying to them. Well, I want to say this before I answer that question. Like, you guys know that my mentor is Greg Nelson.
Yes.
And one of my best friends is Greg Nelson. And we
talk about theory and we apply the theory and we pressure test the theory and we refine theory obsessively. Like we are both obsessed with what we do. And so he's been a big influence on that. And like, he told me when we first started kind of working together and he first started mentoring me, he said, you do Jeet Kune Do. And I'm like, I've never done Jeet Kune Do. He's like, no, the philosophy of Jeet Kune Do is no way as a way. And so what we do is we just look for movements of the body where there are common denominators within different disciplines that just so happen to fit within our specific context. It is the blending of disciplines that is its own art form. And we blend many multiple disciplines into what we do. But primarily, I want to say this, we are principle-based. We are not technique-based. And so because we are principle-based, we can apply the principles of combat, mental combat, emotional combat, verbal combat, behavioral combat, physical combat, combat of all kinds. And we can develop a fight IQ. That's why I mentioned that in the trailer. So this way we can be adaptable to whatever set of variables that we're faced with. So what disciplines? I mean, the disciplines of no disciplines. I mean, we borrow from everything, and there's a lot of things that we do that there's no, it's IDS. It's our own blend of things that are specifically designed. Well, like it was very flattering to me being around Greg, because some extremely high level people have said to me, you've developed your own, I know everyone says it, but you've developed your own thing. You developed your own, I don't want to say that your own martial art, but we take a lot of things. There's a lot of things that go into it. And there's a ton of disciplines. Like I'll be doing something and working on something, we'll come up with something and Greg will say, oh, that's from this. And I'm like, I don't even know what that is. I never even heard that before. And just because we know how to move our body, we know how to apply ourselves in ways that help to FSO, to figure shit out, to solve problems. And that's what we do. The way that one of our core teaching principles is that we like to put the problem first. And so this way, we're not prescriptive with how we teach. Can you see how freaking cute she is? We're not prescriptive with what we teach. You see, we don't prescribe an answer because there's no answer. So we put forth principles and we put forth problems, and then we help the students to solve those problems for their unique set of attributes and their unique set of circumstances. So instead of giving students a collection of keys, we teach them to be key makers. And those keys are unique to them and to whatever circumstances or variables that they're faced with. So there is no answer. There's no way for me to, if I'm being intellectually honest, there's no answer. There's no way for me to answer that question. It just, I honestly, I don't think anybody should.
I love what making the intellectual connection here is you put forth a problem. You give forward and within the limits of principles, because we're limited by principles because we live in a physics-bound universe. Teach a student the process of analytics, critical thinking, and presenting them with a way
principles.
Yeah. But you don't give them the answer. So by teaching them the critical thinking skills, that leads them to figure it out on their own. So
because the variables, as I mentioned in the last episode, are unrepeatable and unpredictable. So how can we? Otherwise, we're just choreographers. We're just dance teachers, right? We're just teaching a dance class and leading people to believe that the dance moves that they just learned are going to save their life and the lives of their loved ones and keep them out of jail. That's why it's so important in the ecologically dynamic approach that we're coupling our decision making with our motor skills. And that way our perceptions lead to our actions and our actions lead to further perceptions and so on and so forth, you see. And so this is how we teach. And it's very difficult to learn to teach that. And there's a high rate of failure, right? But you'll see very quickly that the rate of success grows
grows rapidly, and that the level of difficulty, if you're teaching it in a way that is most effective and most functional, that the rate of success goes up exponentially, and then we add another level of difficulty, you see. And so it would be really difficult for me to explain something like this. It's something that we tell them, this isn't something I can tell you. It's something that you have to come experience. And I put up a post on social media today that says game recognizes game. What we're finding is that the right people see what we do. They recognize what we do. They may not even be able to articulate it, but they see something. They go, that's what I've been looking for. That's what I want. That's what this should be. I'm just going to take a leap of faith and I'm just going to come and learn. And then like, oh my gosh, this is far more than I even thought it could be. Right? I'm like, yeah, you're just getting started. Even the guys, like when we just finished the test that we showed the video of, at the end of the test, they all said, I feel like I'm just getting started. I feel like this is my first day. And this is at the end of the test. And like, this is exactly how we should feel. You know, if you talk with Greg, hopefully you guys will have him on the show. It sounds like you guys are working that out. He really means it when he says, trust me, I know this man well. With him when he's teaching, I'm learning from him, and I get the opportunity to coach him. I coach him 1 day a week. Imagine that. And then, you know, every time he steps on the mat, every time he does something, it's his first time. And it's true. He goes and watches his children's classes so that he can learn something new from the children who have not been indoctrinated.
And that is a big testament to ego, or removing of ego. Because when you come into any situation with your glass full of your ego,
the donkey knocks the camera off. Yeah. That'd be funny as shit. The donkey just ate the camera.
Probably.
All you see is the teeth.
When it comes back on, but basically what I'm saying is ego clutters up so much capability and bandwidth. So when you come in with a whole bunch of ego in your cup, so to speak, you're not going to be able to take in to anything else. Because if your cup's so full with your ego,
you don't want to let your mind free. Your mind is closed. Yeah. As soon as you walk in that mat or that gym and you come, I know it all. Your mind's closed. It's already set in your head already. You're not going to learn anything. You're just wasting your time. You get one in there like, well, I know that already. Well, I know that kick. Well, I know this block. What do I need to be here for? It goes back to the status thing. Just because you're showing other people, hey, look at them in the class.
I'm back.
You're not. Yeah.
Sorry about that. I got disconnected. Are we good now? Am I back?
Well, we thought
we're just joking with it.
And so I'll just say this, and hopefully we can show the video with Rose, and that'll be a good jump off point to talk a little bit.
Yeah.
But, you know, the 3 people in my life who I have trained to have the least amount of ego are Greg Nelson. They have no ego when they're learning. Nat McIntyre, who's Greg's senior instructor, on who Greg has mentored for over 25 years, and Rose Namajunas. Now, what does that tell you? You know,
they're willing to learn. Yeah.
They have, like, if there's 3 people on earth who I know who could have ego, it's those 3. But they, honest to God, have none. They are a blank slate at all times, and they're just there to listen and learn and take your feedback. And that's it. But I also say to them is what I say to everybody else. What I'm putting forward for you is for your consideration only. Feel free to make this your own. And it's my job to point out what the pros and cons are of what you're doing, because ultimately your life is yours. Your life is in your hands. It's not in mine. So it's your responsibility. This is why I'm not going to give you any answers, just options.
And that's a testament. I was talking about the ego as associated to a cup, because I mean, if your cup is so full of your ego and going to any situation, how can you add more to it? So you got to dump that cup out to actually have that opportunity. Now, in this circumstance where somebody could have ego, so somebody who is so capable, somebody who has so much experience. But what I'm finding, and this is specific to people, but across the board, though, I'm finding people that should have ego typically don't, because in the process of learning that, yeah, they have all this experience, this capability, But somebody who's truly honest in the game, so to speak, they come in with this expectation of, yeah, I know stuff, but because I know and because I can do, I can also be experience new stuff. Because if somebody's truly invested in the game, they're going to constantly try to improve upon themselves, reinvent themselves, constantly take in new data so they don't get complacent. Because complacency kills you.
It's the kiss of death. It's the kiss of death.
Yeah, stagnation leads to obliteration, to use a quote from Dune. So I'm going to show that video. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so great. You know, I love it. Training environments where we're being humbled at all times.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Let's show this video. Let's go.
All I do is work harder. All I do is work harder, yeah. Plus a little bit smarter. To take myself all the way. And my marching orders. Reach my goal. Order. Try and take off. Never stop flying. Keep going. Never retire. All I do is work harder. All I do is work harder, yeah. All I do is work harder. All I do is work harder, yeah.
Hey guys, Todd Fossey here. I'm the founder and chief instructor of Integrative Defense Strategies, also known as IDS. This is UFC strawweight world champion Thug Rose Namajunas. This is legendary MMA coach Greg Nelson, Rose's coach, and my coach and mentor. And this is me. Today we are at the famed Minnesota Martial Arts Academy doing what we call Firearms Fridays, where we've modified modern MMA for self-defense and integrated it with the handgun. This is Rose's 5th lesson. Yes, she learns faster than anyone I know. And today, we're focusing on responding to various knife threats and attacks when armed with a handgun. By the way, 95% of our training is done with a SIRT training pistol. Why? Because we can train safely with it anywhere in real time, with real resistance in ways that can't be done with live fire, and more conveniently than with non-lethal simulated training ammunition. Anyway, Rose takes her personal protection seriously, and she likes to mix up her training and keep her camps fresh and fun. It also helps her mental focus. For me, this is lab work, research and development, if you will. Here's how it works. Greg coaches Rose and coaches me. I coach Rose and I coach Greg. Greg and I collaborate to develop weapons-based combatives, and well, everyone learns from Rose. This creates an amazing synergy so everyone wins. That's how we like it. Remember this? This is a randomized exercise we call IDS 3D Threat Recognition Drill. There's a bunch of sciencey stuff that's gone into its development. Basically, it allows us to maximize the transference of motor skills and decision-making into the most accelerated way possible, where skill development and application happen simultaneously. It's cutting-edge stuff we call the new paradigm. Let's break down what Rose does here. This is Kyle, by the way, BJJ black belt, IDS student, and all-around good dude. He's a regular with us here on Fridays. Kyle is playing bad guy today versus Rose. Rose has her eyes closed here. This forces her to speed up her observation and orientation process to randomize stimuli, so she doesn't know what's coming. When she hears her name, she opens her eyes and sees the bad guy has a knife in his hand, clustered with some other subtle pre-attack indicators such as a clenched jaw and hunched shoulders. At this point, Rose chose to create distance and attract attention with a bold verbalization and command. Upon realizing the threat is reasonably lethal and immediate, Rose moves to present her concealed handgun as the bad guy rapidly closes the distance with intent. Rose knows at this distance, the chances of her handgun alone stopping the threat is low, so she chooses to integrate a beautiful front kick as she discharges her weapon to increase the probability of her survival. The total length of this exercise was only 5 seconds, so she was able to get a meaningful number of repetitions in over the course of this training session, accelerating and deepening her learning and confidence without compromising the quality of her valuable training time. One of my favorite things about Rose is how humble and teachable she is. She's a master of learning, and that's what makes her the best. I hope you guys found this breakdown helpful. Thanks for watching. Until next time.
Let's go. All I do is work harder. All I do is work harder, yeah. Plus I love it smarter. To take myself all the air. And my marching orders. Reach my goal. Order. Try and take off. Never stop flying.
So there you have it. There you have it.
I like the way you said that everybody learned. It's true what you said, that everybody learns from each other in there. Everybody's being studied. Information is being gathered. Each person has something to contribute into the group.
We do that in all of our classes. We don't have leveled classes. We have our higher level students and instructors working with our lower level students and instructors, and I pair them up. We call it students teaching students, and they have to know how to do it, so that it isn't disruptive to the class, and we have a good energy and a good synergy, a good learning environment happening. But it helps the higher level students become better practitioners and instructors, and then the lower level students learn directly from them. And so that's how we do almost everything, is that it's synergy. Todd isn't the sage on the stage. You know what I'm saying? Todd is the exercise controller who's there leading and a very interesting and highly effective way to learn, where all of the disciplines are interdependent upon one another, happening simultaneously. And as I mentioned in the video, one of the biggest takeaways from that video is that skill development and skill application is happening simultaneously. And that's what the research shows. The old model, the outdated model, and the current model says that skill development should happen before application. But the science doesn't support that at all. The science is very clear in the ecologically dynamic approach that the best results come from when development and application are happening simultaneously. Like I said, the decision making is coupled with the motor skills. You see?
Because you have so many data points coming in. What's great about that kind of learning environment, when you have the removal of the rank-based egos, because the model, particularly for our industry, especially like the belt and gi industry, is I'm the black belt, I'm the one who has all the knowledge, listen to me. Where you can get away from that is in the black belt only class, but even that still has a pecking order and hierarchy. When you have a synergistic approach where everybody's got something valid based upon their experiences and capability, and everybody is willing to listen, learn, and figure it out together, that is the healthiest tribal-based learning process out there.
And celebrate the failures.
Yeah.
And remediate them right away. Right. Yep. As soon as that mistake happens, celebrate it and go back and remediate it.
Yep. Well, it's cool. So, like, my experience at Water and Steel is that I put it as a train-the-trainers kind of conference, where everybody was a leader in their own field. Everybody had something to bring in, and we presented something. And of course, there's the core group of instructors that are the core, but everybody else coming in, you had opportunity to present something, and everybody had the professional willingness to sit there, learn, listen, and also process through.
I love that.
Yeah, it was a great experience. And I wish more organizations, more people in this industry would approach that model of don't come in thinking I wish people would come in more with this idea of I want to learn, but not discard what I know, but not what I know is the thing that stops me from my process of learning. But
maybe discard what you know.
Yeah.
But maybe, right?
But there's a bias, of course, based upon your experience and what you think you know. Because that's the thing that I'm in this phase now with martial arts in general is I'm putting a pause on what I think I knew and taking in new data and see if I can override my previous bias and correct that. Because I'm of the opinion, if you're not doing it now, then what are you doing? Because relying upon what I used to do isn't a means and measure of what I'm currently doing or what I'm trying to do. And so having a dynamic learning environment where you have everybody trying to do the same thing in a synergistic way is a great process of learning, because what it does is it removes the ego from the equation. Because I think, just like everything else, the ego is the enemy.
Well, there's one thing, I was talking about the psychopaths and the malignant and the narcissistic. Those are personality disorders. That's the thing. You see, so I don't trust anybody that says they don't have an ego, by the way. But the people that fall into those disorders, it isn't just ego. It's an actual personality disorder. Like, those traits of their personality are frozen in place. They, like I mentioned earlier, they cannot modulate that. There's no point in even trying to get through those people.
Yeah.
Right. And they're not going to. They're not going to unless they have deluded themselves in their own mind that they've reinvented. They have this grandiosity, right? They have these delusions of grandeur that now that they've created a whole new, they're gods in their mind, and they've created the universe, and that their answer is the only answer.
It's like the guy comes in.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Sorry.
You go, Kurt. Sorry. That's
okay. It's the delay. So it's like the guy who comes into a seminar, who pays money for a seminar to go take lessons from this guy that they're paying money to, but they want to come teach the seminar. They're the guy in the corner who says, this is the way I would do it. When the fact is, they paid a bunch of money to be there to learn from the other guy. It's that kind of like... Yeah.
No, they didn't. They paid a bunch of money to come be a pain in the ass.
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead. The delay is a little weird for me today.
It's all good. I honestly can't remember what I was going to say. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I want to talk about training with Rose and how she was so open-minded to train your material.
She always is.
Yeah. What is it something she's still kind of pursuing, or she's kind of just like, whenever she gets a chance to train with you, she trains with you guys?
No, she practices on her own. She lives in Denver, Colorado. In fact, I'll be on the phone with her and Pat tonight. Actually, they've become close. They've become close friends to us, kind of like family. But we play different roles in each other's lives, and we know when we're in those roles with each other. But she's like that all the time, even when we're not training. But no, she practices on her own, right? She has a home gym. It's a nice home gym. She practices on her own, and she sends me pictures and videos and sends me texts with questions, and we'll do like a live.
That's awesome. She's still keeping it up though. Like, she's like actually like that serious. She's still like pursuing it.
Oh, she's as I said in the video, she's very passionate about her personal protection. And she's very passionate about the Second Amendment and freedom in general. Her family fled Lithuania.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you know her famous quote when she fought Wei Li and Wei Li won, when she said, "Better off dead than red." She meant that. She loves everybody. She's a very loving, compassionate person, but she's all about free will, and she's all about liberty, because she's a devout Christian, and she knows that the Spirit of God is the Spirit of liberty. So she believes in she and Pat both. Pat Barry, who's a genius, by the way, a true genius, and he is the genius behind her success. The world doesn't give him enough credit for. I'm serious about that. And Greg is a head coach for her, but Pat is the real genius behind Rose's success, and Rose knows that. And he should get credit for that. He's too humble. But anyway, she knows that this type of training keeps things fresh and enhances things for her, keeps her mind fresh. But she's very serious about this.
Was it easier with her MMA background to kind of just like fall into the whole training?
100%. She could draw on things, but even when Greg's on, you could ask him about it. Like, she's one of those people. One, she knows how to learn. And she knows how to internalize information. And she's one of those people who can watch you and can drill it for a little bit and throw some exercises, and then she's got it.
And then she's not happy with that either. Like she's got it, but she's going to really get it now. Like now she's going to work it. She's like that with everything she does. She's like that. She's a very accomplished pianist, and she's a very accomplished gardener. She's a master gardener. And so is Pat, by the way. Their garden is amazing. And everything that she does, beekeeping, like being a friend, being a Christian, like everything she does all the way. And she knows when she comes up short. She knows where her flaws and failures are in life and as a person. And she's very open and vulnerable and transparent. And that's what makes her so special.
The process of learning how to learn is, a lot of people think they know how to learn. A lot of people think they know how to learn, but seeing it in actuality with somebody at that high level of genius is really amazing. And I do think a lot of that is, again, like you said, transparency of knowing where they're deficient, removing to a point of the ego that blocks them from learning, because we need ego, but having that capability and the critical thinking process of learning how to learn. I mean, people are successful. There's a reason why they're successful, because they have hacked that neurological process of learning. Which
she's not afraid. She's not afraid to fail, and she's not afraid to fail publicly, and she's not afraid to fall on her face publicly. She's not afraid to embarrass herself, right? She's really not. I showed that there was a tiny little clip within that video where I was talking about something and kind of, explaining and demonstrating things. You could see her in the background. We call it mapping it. Like she was mapping the movement as we were kind of workshopping it, right? Just on her own, thinking it through, mapping it through, and thinking about how that applied to her. And then she'll ask questions. I've challenged her in a lot of ways, in life, and training and everything. And she just takes it in. She listens. She's an active listener, and she considers what you're saying, and she explores it.
That's what's great about it. Yeah.
That's how she creates that's how she's created so many magical moments for all of us to live with and enjoy in the octagon. Or imagine that, like, she's a superstar, and but she's not a fake superstar. She takes that walk with so many people that have such a huge expectation of her, and people that are wondering, is she going to fail? Is she going to succeed? Is she going to create this amazing moment for us to remember for the rest of our life? But she takes that walk and she locks herself in the cage with a pure killer whose job is to try to fucking hurt her, right? With all the media ready to pounce, and all of the haters and the social media and all the media getting ready to jump on her and all this shit, right? She does it. She takes the walk. There's no pretending. There's no cheap moments here. I hope the audience will learn from that. That video, I took clips from. She insisted that we do a live feed. That video was edited from a live feed. We were rolling Facebook live when we were doing that training. And we have others with her too, doing the same thing. She insists. And I always ask her, is it okay if we roll video? And she's like, yeah. And I always say, are you sure? Because this is a touchy subject. She's like, no, I want to. And I go, we usually go live. Are you cool with that? She's like, I insist. Go live. I want the world to learn. Yeah.
What's great about that too is that she's such high level, and she doesn't have the big ego. Like, I'm a UFC champion. I don't need to learn this shit. I can use my UFC skills on the street. She's so open to take what you're giving her and make it her own, and for her own personal safety. And she doesn't have the ego of like, I'm not going to learn this. I mean, somebody that high level like that's willing to open their mind and absorb that knowledge, rather than to be, let that the UFC champion thing get in their head.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And she knows that the context is different. She knows that the decision making is different, right? And so she's going to apply.
The consequences are different.
She could fall back on something that could be a really big mistake in the context of concealed carry.
And this goes back to that issue about the context of what you used to do. Does it apply to what you do now? Because again, with some of these titles of people in our industry, whether they were from an agency, special forces, ninja sniper medic type people.
Let me ask you this.
How many special forces operators are UFC champions or have ever been?
None. There's one close contender. That's Mr. Tim Kennedy, but he never got his belt. So
he was top 5.
Yeah. So no, there isn't. It's a different skill set, different mindset.
No. And with the way that it's presented to us and the way that our belief systems have been built around that title is that they should just be able to walk in the cage and just beat everybody up and win, get pay-per-view points and make $3 million a fight. They should just be able to walk in there and just beat everybody up, right?
Yeah, the title doesn't necessarily equate to the skill particular to the context because, and again, in my own experiences with training and teaching, I've had people from agencies and high-level operators that should be able to wipe the floor with me, but I did things that they don't practice, that they're not exposed to, and it's an eye-opening experience. Vice versa, I've had the same thing happen to me with a 16-year-old Muay Thai champion. So, I mean,
for sure. For sure. Listen, all of us who roll have had that humbling experience where a 15-year-old girl who weighs 110 pounds less than you, took you down and choked you out in under 45 seconds, who was bendy, had cardio for days, had been rolling since she was 3.5 years old, and that's a beautiful thing, man. That's a beautiful thing when you have your ass handed to you by a bendy little girl.
An 18-year-old judo throwing you? Yeah, I had that happen a couple months ago.
That's a beautiful moment that we need to seek out. We need to cherish those moments where we are humbled by anybody at any moment, and it's a different context. It's a different skill set. But what my point is this, I'm not here to be critical of operators. I'm here to say this. Everybody is extraordinary. Everyone has their own extraordinary set of attributes. And the people in the UFC are regular people who dedicated their lives to a specific skill set, just like operators have. And so I'm here to praise operators. I'm just here to be intellectually honest and create distinctions. You see?
You have to be humble in order to excel in anything, and I think that's that's something. It's just a human nature. In order to excel in any kind of one skill set, you need those humblings. Like you said, you need that bendy 18, 17-year-old girl to slap you around and put you back in check, put your male ego back in check again. That, hey, I'm not as good as I thought I was, but I'm learning from this person, which I thought was superior to me because they're smaller and they're different gender, but you're taking that as a learning experience and you're developing your skills to learn from your mistakes. And not enough people are doing that. I agree with you. Now it's all about something totally different.
Very few people on the big stage are. Like one of the things that's really frustrating for me, like I really take it personally when people present themselves as this god on social media, and I can go to any given class on a weeknight and look around the room and see 10 people who have more knowledge, skill, and ability in their little finger than that person ever did in their whole life. And that's a true statement. And these people are people you've never heard of. You've never seen them before, and you probably never will. You see, it's really upsetting to me. Like I would prefer to not be on social media, but that's the only way that I can get my message and not the only way, but it's a way that I can get my message out. Yeah,
it's the problem with social media. You run into the situation of, are you an entertainer or are you an educator? Or better yet, are you an entertainer who thinks that they're an educator? Because it's a tricky balance as to where we're at.
Well, they've conflated the two things where people now believe that entertainment is education. It's funny because I just had a consultation just this week with my social media consultant. And she was reminding me, Todd, to get the audience should hear this. The algorithm knows. She's an algorithm expert. She has videos with that have over 500 million views. Okay.
Damn.
Seriously. And so it's an automatic. You should use this as a filter for yourself. If you see people who get big views, the algorithm knows it's entertainment because it breaks it down into 3 different categories. The algorithm will send people to either entertainment, it will send them to education, or it will send them to product reviews. Those are the 3 categories. And the most popular, the thing that gets the most views is entertainment. The second most popular are product reviews, and the third most popular is education.
Yep.
So you should use that as a filter for yourself. You see, when you're seeing a video and you see someone with huge followings and huge views, you should know that person at its core is an entertainer who throws in a little bit of education so they can call themselves an educator. You see?
Yep. I fall in that category at this point in my life, because at this point in my life I'm not teaching. And to be honest with it, I'm tired of teaching. And this is where, because seeing a lot of things, particularly in our industry and within the Filipino martial arts community in general, this is where I fall in the category of I'm going to poke a little fun at it, because there's a lot of uncomfortable things that need to be poked fun at. So.
Hey, man, that's cool. And by the way, I'm all for entertainment. Yeah. And I think that there's a place for that. But the problem comes when you're presenting your entertainment. My donkey wants to go in. She's asking me, can I go in? She's asking me to go to bed. That's how cool they are. Can I go to bed now? My wife will be out here in a minute to put them in. But anyway, and I have a cigar in my hand and I can't go in the barn with a cigar. But the problem is that they're conflating. Right, they're conflating the entertainment as education, and the problem with that is that people will automatically be influenced by that and internalize it and believe that that's something that will save their life, or something that is something other than what it actually is. And like I said in the last show we did, we're not selling barbecue sauce here, guys. We're selling life and death.
I like barbecue sauce.
Right, so we're selling life and death stuff. And so we have to be, I really honor the fact that you said that, Kurt, because more people need to say that. I'm shifting gears into more entertainment now, and I'm all for it. You have my full support, because you're letting people know this is what I'm doing. I'm entertaining you with real information in there, but there's some tongue in cheek and there's some entertainment. There's a lot of entertainment factor happening here. And by the way, I really enjoy your stuff. I think it's a cool style.
Appreciate it. Thank you. And even more with that, there's a reason why I don't do firearms related content. For one, there's so many more skilled individuals out there. And two, it's just not something I feel comfortable putting out there on a platform, because I just don't. It's not what I do. I mean, I train on my own, but I'm not competent and confident enough in my own capability to voice out information.
I recently just saw a video that came out this week of someone who I know pretty well, that I haven't been feeling very good about lately, who's probably the biggest name and the most famous. And he's been starting to put out some stuff on weapons-based combatives. And I was absolutely infuriated by what I saw. I'm still mad. I'm not going to lie about it. I'm pissed off. I want to confront them. There's other people that do that too. But now they're saying, well, I want to show that I'm the whole package too. But you're not. You just embarrassed yourself. You're putting out hot garbage. You're putting out crap. And all of your sycophant followers now are going to believe that that's legit. And now you're saying, well, I'm a work in progress, and this is in a lab, and it's exploration. You've never done anything before showing yourself as work in progress. You've never done anything before showing anything else other than highly polished, heavily produced, cherry-picked content with only the best takes that you've spent 3 hours to get the take that you wanted. You've never done anything like that before, so now that's the precedent that you've set, you see? So you don't get to have it both ways. You either can come out on the match and you can grind with us. You know what else he said? He goes, in a comment, he said, hey, you shouldn't be so hard on us. We've been practicing this for weeks.
For weeks.
So you can either come and touch hands with us and you can grind it out with us year after year after year until you listen. I don't test anything I don't show anything that I haven't vetted vigorously for at least 12 to 18 months.
Yeah. Exploration's cool. I mean, if you admit it.
100%. We show a lot of exploration on social media because we want to inspire that, but I'm furious. I'm absolutely infuriated. And he's not the only one. He's not the only one who's doing it. Stay in your lane. Know your scope.
Yep. And this is, it's the issue with from a business standpoint. Everybody wants to go into a new market. Everybody wants to break into a new audience. So with the jack of all trades approach, You're a master of none, which is another way of saying that you are mediocre at many things. And that is intellectually dishonest and professionally dangerous.
100%, man. It's a serious issue. And I don't see anybody else really speaking out about it, man. You know, I'm willing to, other than us, you know, I'm willing to be the heel if that means that we can illuminate some of this stuff. You know what I mean?
Do you feel that there's too many holding of hands where everybody's as they're boys, so they're all close together. So when someone thinks it questions that,
it's a cartel.
The Lord of the Flies mentality, right?
The training industry is a cartel. Listen to anybody who's listening. The training industry is a cartel.
Mm-hmm.
Make no mistake about it. It's a cartel, and there are gatekeepers who decide who's going to listen. Man, they invited me in. Okay,
Yep.
They tried to initiate me. I'm like, I want no part of this bullshit. You all know that it's a sham, and you're all willing to not call each other out on each other's sham because you're all boys and it's a cartel, and you're on a gravy train. Well, I'm not playing that.
Mm-hmm.
It's that whole echo chamber, confirmation bias, groupthink mentality.
I read what it's called on our last episode that we did together, where it's called system. It's called system justification bias. And people can look up the definition of system justification bias. I won't go into it right now, but there are other cognitive biases, but it goes further than that, where people know it's bullshit, and it's just sheer greed and ego and narcissism, and it's bad. It's a bad thing. It's a really bad thing. You know, evil. Was it you that said this, Kurt? That evil lingers in the shadows of plausible deniability.
Probably. Sounds like something I would say.
I said, I don't talk about it.
Yeah, because I mean, the fact is, people hide behind presentation because the presentation is what leads to profit. It's not very profitable to rub against the grind. It's not very profitable to speak against the status quo. Because
if anybody's watching, they can see a meme that I put out. That's an image from the Wizard of Oz when Toto pulls back the curtain on the Wizard of Oz, right? Who presents himself as the wizard and exposes the wizard for what he really is. And so I superimposed myself into that image of the Wizard of Oz. Mm-hmm. And I have the quote from the movie that says, "Pay no attention to that illusion of competence behind the curtain," right? And I'm the one pulling back the curtain here, you know. People have to have real competence, guys. If that's been the theme of this episode, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has.
It can't be the illusion. It can't be the illusion of competence. It has to be real competence.
Absolutely. So moving forward, how do we get past this problem as an industry? Because I mean, this is an issue with the industry.
The problem is that it's all subjective, and people are immoral. They don't have a moral compass, and so I think we're doing it, man. I think we're doing it. I think we're doing it right now with this I think we're doing it right now with this conversation, and we're separating the wheat from the chaff. And the right people see it, and they want to pursue real competence, and they want to pursue the truth, and the wrong people don't. And it's a fact I mentioned in the last show we did. Again, you know, 80% of people make their decisions based on what everyone else believes, right? And so that's a real challenge, but 20% of people are open to seeing another way. But the nice thing is that once we reach a tipping point, then there's a zeitgeist and there's a shift in the paradigm. And so one person at a time, that's how it's done. Little by little, we create an entire shift in that paradigm, and then we create that zeitgeist, and that's my mission, man.
That's awesome. And part of that, I think, in as much as we're educating our student base, part of that education is also how to learn, how to be critical. Because again, for the average person looking at something that's funny and entertaining, they really don't know what they're looking at. But like the people that we're trying to reach are those who can see, who actually see. Sounds metaphorical and metaphysical, but point being is the people that we're talking to already know what they're looking for. And it's that group, that 20%, that is important. Again, going back to Thug Rose, she knew what she was looking at. She knew her outcomes. She knew what her goals were. So it's those people who are masters at learning are really the people that we're trying to reach. And hopefully with enough that it'll help flip the scales here.
Quality people will see when they walk into a dojo or a mat what the message you're trying to convey to them. The ones who don't are the ones that you don't need them anyway, right? So
No, we don't. It's it's like Jesus said, man. I mean, Jesus was separating the wheat from the chaff. You know, he didn't try to convince people to follow him. He made it harder for them to follow him because he knew the right people would. And so that's when we talked earlier. Like I said, that IDS isn't for everybody, right? We're not going to make it easier. We're not going to make your life easier in many ways. We're going to make your life harder in many ways. But we're going to provide the support with online portals and know-how and structure to help enhance your process and make your business and your practice better, but not in a way that's going to be fraudulent.
yeah, and like I said, it's like I said, people will see it. They'll see the quality. I've had several students come to me before, and there's ones that are like, "Oh man, we're not going to learn this, we're not going to learn that right away." And I tell them, "No, it's not part of the curriculum. I teach, and I don't want those people." All right, well maybe this isn't for me. The ones that stay, who go through supposable boring classroom work, the theory, the drills, the pressure testing, are the ones I want to produce, to go out in the world, and protect himself. I don't want the fucking guy who's coming here because, oh, look at cool, man, I'm doing knife fighting, I'm doing this and that. I don't want that fucking guy. I gotta go kick fucking rocks. I want the guy who's gonna stay and use his brain. He's gonna grow. I'm gonna mentor him. He's gonna, go out in the world and he's gonna go out and do good things.
I had a guy contact me recently who wants to come out here and join our group here for IDS LabWorks for our local weekly classes, our lab rats, I call them. And he asked me, well, how long do I need to come train? And I said, well, at IDS, training it's not a line that you cross, it's a path that you take. So it's up to you how long you decide you want to be on that path, but this isn't a check the box, man. Learning and confidence doesn't work that way. And you have to remember the stakes here. The stakes couldn't be higher. Stakes are life and death. So you're gonna come in here. You're gonna find out in a hurry whether or not this is for you. Right? We're not gonna kick your ass. We're not gonna hurt you. We're not gonna publicly humiliate you. We're not gonna do that. But you're gonna fun. But you're gonna find out right away what the reality of training for this is. What we think it should be. The research shows that in order for you to really develop confidence, you need to be practicing and training for what you're really going to be performing. And that's the illusion that this industry has created. They've created a false reality that leads people to believe they can do things that they can't do. And so, we need to be on that. We need to be on that path. And so again, that's a fundamental problem with the industry, is that in the firearms training industry is they don't take a martial arts approach, where the classes need to be happening on a daily basis.
I think it's funny what you said right now. It reminds me of a couple weeks back. There was a seminar in town here that somebody wanted me to teach with them, and then I was like talking about that. Somebody asked me how long it was, and I was like, well, it's like 4 hours. 4 hours? That's way too long. Let me ask you a question. How important is preserving your life or learning something that might save your life? How important is that to you?
But we all know that out of 100 men, 10 shouldn't be there at all, right? Yeah. 80 are just targets. 9 are the real soldiers, the real warriors. But there's the one that brings everybody home, right? We want the 9
that we want the 9 real soldiers, and we want the one that's going to bring everybody home. And again, going back to the firearms training world, like we have modern technology now. We have inert weapons like the SIRT training pistol and others that are just as good. I'm hoping I can find something else beside the SIRT that's better. If not, maybe to develop something on my own that's better than the SIRT. But it's still an amazing tool. And we also have non-lethal munitions. We have now these days, professional grade gas blowback airsoft is an amazing non-lethal munition, right? And now civilians can no longer get access to UTMs anymore or to munitions anymore. The ATF removed that just a few weeks ago. But that doesn't mean that we still don't have really amazing technology that we can use everywhere with real live resistance, with all of the variables that simulate how violence actually occurs, that can integrate the combatives and the decision making and the weapon defenses and all of it, the after action and the immediate emergency first aid, and all of it can be all integrated and thrown into the blender all at once. We can do that now, and we can do it anywhere, and we can do it every day. And so that's why we created the approach that we've taken with IDS, is that way we can remove all the barriers of expense and cost and what ranges won't let you do and what you can't do with live fire. We've removed all those barriers of entry. And I'll just say this out loud now. If what I'm teaching at IDS catches on, the industry will be obsolete. And I want that. I don't want to improve the industry. I don't want to improve the paradigm. How can I improve something that's fundamentally flawed? I want to replace it.
So you're saying the flat range cosplay is not the standard thing?
Why are people wearing battle belts in 95% of classes?
Right. Right.
While their motto is train like you fight.
Operator cosplay. That is one of my biggest comments when it comes to the firearms industry. Now I get it if you're part of those agencies and part of that community.
For sure. For sure, because that's the equipment that they're training with. But what they don't realize is they're creating training scars. They're creating slips and capture errors. They're creating primary neurological pathways that people will default to, right? And then they'll say, "Well, it's safer for us on the range to. It's a less complex skill when people are working from open holster." No, it's not a more complex. It's not a more or less complex motor skill. The level of complexity is the same. You're just full of shit. And you got battle belts to sell, motherfucker. So shut the fuck up. Stop with all your bullshit, and stop pretending that you're not appealing to the masses. You're not appealing to the lower 90% that I was talking about, but selling it as though that you're appealing to the top 10. You're not, because the top 10 aren't going to be there. And you also know that bottom 90% cosplay people are the people who are going to spend the most money, and they're going to be your fanboys and your sycophants, and right, they're going to it's just disgusting. It's just
latest
disgusting.
And the greatest equipment.
and they'll advertise we have the greatest training methods in the world and all this shit. Listen, man, I have been studying. I was a professional human performance coach for 15 years with world-class athletes. I am on the cutting edge, man, of what the science tells us what should be happening with skill acquisition and motor learning. You're not doing any of it.
Mm-hmm.
So please stop. In the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king, but Todd's not blind. You understand?
Yep.
I don't care what your name is. I don't care.
And I think, again, going back to the client base, the entertainment base, they want to feel part of that process by showing up wearing all the cool guy gear, having the good viewpoints because the Instagram. They want to look like by participation and looking the part that they are also competent by sharing in with the perceived competence of this influencer approach, which honestly I think is the biggest part of the problem.
And they want the sponsors and they want the whole thing. Like, it's just garbage.
Yep.
It's just garbage. Like, really, do you really want to go have brain surgery done by somebody who has the fanciest social media videos?
Well, people want to belong. That's what a lot of it is too. People want to belong to something. They want to
Of
belong
course.
to the John Wick community. They want to feel like they belong as an operator. Something that you can never be. Half the fucking people want to be operators, right? But one out of a million is not going to be one, right? But as long as you got the cool pants, like Coach Danny said, tactical entertainment, you feel like you belong to that.
It's cool by association. Cool
Yeah.
by association.
Mhm.
Because like the other part about which leads into a problem with the industry, and we talked about problem sets here, but part of this conversation is talk about the problems for sake of change. Is that cool by association from the instructor's perspective? Because when the instructor holds on to the laureates of who they train, whether it's agencies, high-level operators, high-level athletes, there is this tendency to like hold on to that as like, these people train with me, therefore it must be awesome. So that is also a tricky standpoint.
Well, it's a fallacy, and so I'm not. Wake up, people. Wake up.
Yeah.
Wake up. Stop with that. That's why I told people in that rant I just put out on social media, if you want real training with real science of skill acquisition, who will give you what you need, what you want, stick with me. If you're serious about this and you want the real deal, stick with me. And if there's some others out there who will fall into that category, and I will, who are direct competitors of mine, and I will plug them. I will. This isn't about that. But come on, it has to stop.
Yep.
It has to. Sometimes there's nights I can't sleep thinking about this and all the people that are out there. Oh, man, listen, it's nice to be liked. It's nice to have a fan. You know what I mean? It's nice. Those things are nice. They're the icing on the cake. They're not the cake, but they're still the cake. It's not the main course. There's no nutrition in that. There's no nutritional value in that food. You know what I'm saying? And eventually they'll just end up with, diabetes and rotten teeth.
Is that the truth? So moving forward, switching gears a little bit, what do you have coming up here in the near future or in the long term for training, besides putting your donkey to bed?
Man, if you ever what's so great about these animals, if you can't tell, when you're with them, there's nothing else that exists. The whole world just falls away. They will reset you in a second. And it's like they're little therapists. It's like equine therapy, right? They'll give you what you need. They're really amazing. What do I have moving forward? Well, it's holiday season, so we shut down our in-person training during the holidays. It's kind of a reset time for us, setting our new schedule. And 90% of our stuff is really geared. More than 90% of our stuff is geared toward teaching our instructors and our instructor certification courses and instructor development stuff. So if you're interested in becoming, getting on board with us in our affiliate program and our instructor program, you can message me on social media. Just look up Todd Fossey, send me a message. You can go to our website that's geared for our instructors, which is thisidids.com. If you're interested, we have an online training program too. It's called idscitizendefender.com. So the things that we teach you can do at home. And it's just,
I might look into that one.
It's a whole streaming program. There's 17 full courses on there. There's a lot of really great stuff there for training at home. But the thing is, we can't teach the ecological approach that way. So you have to come in person to learn how to do that and how to experience the ecologically dynamic approach. And then we have a big conference coming up in September of 2024. It's going to be one of a kind. There'll never been anything like it before. It's going to be a lineup of instructors that you're going to love. Greg Nelson's on there, by the way, some other really amazing human beings. And it's going to be held at the Minnesota Martial Arts Academy, September 2024. That's exclusive only for IDS affiliates, instructors, and members of our program, including our streaming program. However, I'll make a deal. If there's anybody listening here right now who would like to come to that conference,
I can't remember the exact dates. I think it's September 22nd to the 24th, but don't quote me on that. I'm terrible at dates. I will make an exception for anybody who's a fan of this podcast. If you want to contact me, I will make
Awesome.
you can come by special invite to come be a part of that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, thank you for that.
For that. Yeah.
100%, because I believe in what you guys are putting out, and I really appreciate allowing me to come on and say the shit that I say, and I appreciate your pursuit of intellectual honesty in with the intention of making the world a better and safer place.
Yep. Because I mean, social media has created a circumstance where the loudest may not actually have the correct answers, may not actually be the most honest. So, and part of that is also the discussions, because disagreement is part of the discussionary process. And hopefully somewhere in the middle, we can figure things out. So
I think the right people will, but the wrong people, like some of the people that I was mentioning earlier, they're not going to listen. Like, they're so diluted and they drank their own Kool-Aid so much that they're not going to listen. They think they have all the answers, and they're not going to listen, and they're not going to want to collaborate.
Know-it-alls.
And at best, they're going to be their own Trojan horse. There's somebody the three of us know, a big social media person the three of us have in common, who told me that my strategy should be my own Trojan horse, and I should go in and I should just shamelessly steal from everybody.
Yeah,
that's the other thing that they'll do. These types of people will do is that they'll feign humility just so they can come in, steal your concepts, rebrand them, and pretend like that it's theirs, and that's even worse.
Yep, it's
nothing worse than a fucking thief, right?
Worse than a thief.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny that you were talking about that, because I see a lot of people. I mean, it's all cool if you want to borrow some stuff, you know what I mean? Like, but give credit where credit is due.
That right there.
Yeah, don't be a fucking thief, a rapist, thief, and rape materials, take material. Sorry, I'd say it, and try to brand it as your own. And I'll give you a perfect example. I teach some stuff that was taught to me by an instructor, right? Mm-hmm. But I asked permission. Can I teach some? I'm not an instructor in your system. Can I take some of this stuff? Because I think it's really of value, and show it to some of my students. All for it. When I present the material, they say, "Well, who taught you that? That's pretty cool." I give credit where credit's due. They may not know the person, and they're not going to go on fucking social media and be like, "Hey, Brian's teaching this stuff that you taught him," because I don't even know. But I'm still giving credit where credit's due, because I believe in that.
Always.
Don't be an asshole and take shit without credit.
And if you guys watch my videos, and if you ever come to any of my courses, like, you'll hear me say it out loud before I even teach it. Mm-hmm. I'll say, this is who I learned it from, and this is who deserves full credit from it. And then I'll point out, here are some of the modifications I've made for me and for my context. But
perfect.
But I always say, you give credit where credit is due, and I'm putting this forward for your consideration and your consideration only. So what I'm asking of the industry is to have integrity. I'm asking for the industry to have intellectual honesty. I'm asking for the industry to have scientific literacy. I'm asking for the industry to have semantic accuracy. And if we can do those things, then we will self-correct.
So on the other side of this, playing devil's advocate here, because there's a number of people out there that create their own systems who are also just that martially intellectuals, have that high level of martial arts intellect and combatives intellect. They have that high level of genius where they've just figured shit out. They just move the way they move because of the experiences that they don't know where it necessarily comes from, because the human form hasn't changed. The tools have changed.
Totally.
Some of the tactics have changed based upon the tools.
Yes.
But how can somebody, if they really don't know because they figured it out, where they got their information from?
Then they're being intellectually honest.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't steal it from somebody else and call it their own.
They just figured stuff out. There's a lot of things we've done at IDS that we've just figured it out because we understand the principles. Nobody owns the movements of the body, right? It can't be patented or copywritten, So that's, to me, that's fine. That's being intellectually honest. Even in my lectures that I do, like I provide bibliographies, I provide footnotes, I provide where the source is. And by the way, I just want to say this too. There's a gray area. Like I've had somebody say to me, I consider you to be one of my primary influences and instructors, and I give you credit for that. And I will always, I'm like, yeah, 3 or 4 times a year. 3 or 4 times a year, you might mention, oh yeah, you'll put me on a list of names that were a primary influence for you, but you basically ripped off my entire concept and reinvented it for your application. So stop with like, well, you've been an inspiration to me, and I'll be sure that I'll mention your name. Yeah, with a group of 4 or 5 people, or twice in a video at the very end of the video, right?
Politely stealing it right in front of your face.
But they feel, but why they steal it in front of my face, and yet, but that way they can feel better about it. You see what I'm saying? Like, so we just have to have integrity.
Mm-hmm. And I think this is where, when you have a structured curriculum, this is where you can give a lot of credit to the lineage and process. And this is that, going back to the very beginning of our conversation about competence. Is it competence based on the capability of skill versus your capability of the curriculum? And this is where curriculum and giving, again, connection and correlation to and credit is a big way to be intellectually honest and explain where this stuff came from.
We have over 50 affiliates around the world. And the very first conversation that we have in their level 1 instructor training is while we're onboarding them with our expectations, and we want to hear what their expectations are of us too, so that we have clearly articulated expectations so resentments don't form. But we say, listen, you have to trust me. You have to trust that IDS is going to provide the things that we claim that we're going to provide for you. We're not a franchise. Some people will confuse the two. A lot of martial arts affiliate programs will present themselves as if they're a franchise and that they have full control over everything that their affiliates do. No, that's a violation of federal law. Okay. Yep. So we'll cite what the law is. We're an affiliate marketing program. We're not a franchise. And I'll tell we've had some conversations with some of our affiliates, like, okay, well, if you want that from us, you're going to write me a check for $250,000 up front. And I'm going to control every aspect of your business, and I'm going to take a percentage of every dollar that you make from now on. Like, no, I don't want that. Like, we don't want that for you either. So what I'm saying is, you trust us that we're going to provide the know-how and the support that we claim we're going to provide. But then what we ask in return is that you give credit where credit is due, right? And that you have the intellectual honesty to fly our banner, right? And to let us know that you are representing our brand. And that we're giving you full freedom to reinvent things that work best for you, to be your own DNA. But in order for this relationship to work, I have to trust that you have integrity, and you have to trust that I have integrity. And that's the only way that it can work. Otherwise, I've had to explain, like, it's like we're taking friendly fire, you see? Like, we're giving you know-how so that you can compete against us in social media, you see? And the only way that we as an affiliate program can thrive as a business is that people understand that we're the source of the information. And that we inspire you, and we give you full reign to make it better than what we've made it. We want that to happen. We want to make that. We want you to be successful. We want you to be a superstar. We want your business to thrive. We want all of those things, and we'll do all those things to help you. We'll plug you. We'll push you. We'll do everything. We'll push you above us, right? But all we ask is that you in turn give credit where credit is due, because that's the only way that we can be sustainable. I don't have to light myself on fire to keep you warm. We have to have synergy so that we're all winning and we're all sustainable all at the same time.
Because where we see like this co-opting and problem within the industry, I'm going to use 3 big names that is consistently having some political drama within the martial arts community. Nikiti Tercia Kali, Jeet Kune Do, and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Okay, I want to say specifically like the Gracie lineage, because everybody gets so attached to these marketable name brands, and they're attached to them by name only, create their own thing, particular saying that I'm associated to it, but it creates further division because nobody can agree where it came from because nobody gives credit. And there's no intellectual process of maintaining honesty and curriculum to keep everybody connected.
Yeah, it's true. It's just true, and things will always continue to evolve. You know, like think about who the best UFC fighters were in the early UFC days, and think about how the sport has evolved. Right?
Yep.
It doesn't even come close to resembling the same thing, and the UFC brand isn't even the same as it was in those early days. And I think in a positive way in many ways, right? That's a real testing ground where evolution has really happened. And people have figured out what's effective in that context and what isn't, and how that's bled over into what we do. I mean, we really teach MMA in the context of concealed carry, right? That's what we do. So where do all those influences go back? Like, you know, what am I going to do? Cite the guy that created a move in wrestling 3,000 years ago? You know what I mean? Like I had somebody in our industry, like I showed a video, or there was a still or something of me with doing like this split seatbelt technique while doing concealed carry. Like, you stole that from us. I'm like, motherfucker, that's on a wall, you know, in a cave somewhere. Them showing wrestling techniques. It literally is 3,500 years ago. Like, you don't own that, dude. Like, you don't own that.
So like the 2-on-1.
And don't forget, my coach is Greg fucking Nelson, and I train with the top Greco guys on earth. Like, come on, stop. Like, my influences are real Greco-Roman world-class wrestlers. Right now, Olympians. So please stop. Stop. You know, the madness has to stop. We just got to be intellectually honest. That's it. As long as we have integrity of intellectual honesty, the rest will fall into place.
And yeah, again, this is also the thing that I find with martial arts is the goal is always, like, for people who are specific to a martial arts discipline, is that they're trying to find that one technique, that masterful technique that was unique to the progenitor of that martial arts system, who was able to pull it off at the right time, against the right opponent, against the right circumstance, at the right point of their life. And we're constantly trying to chase that technique, and that's in all those different variables. But whole martial arts industries are so like attached to that one thing, when it's unrealistic to say that you're never going, or people find it unrealistic, but it is realistic, the aspect that you're never going to find that. You're never going to be able to get there. Because again, human movement is universal, but trying to adapt and learn how to move exactly like another person is not possible, because we're all different human beings.
That's right. We're not stamped out at a factory, right? This is where the art comes in, right? There's this balance, the Venn diagram for me anyway, between the art and the science of what we do. And so nobody owns that stuff. And I think it's good. I think it's good that we don't own it. I think it's good that nobody owns the rights to that stuff. But just like Brian said, as long as we're giving credit where credit is due, it's all good, man. Even somebody who I run into on the street say, "Hey, you Todd Fossey?" Yeah. Like, I've had people do this. Like, "Hey, will you just quick show me this thing?" Like, yeah. I'm like, "I'm an instructor. Do you mind if I show it to my class?" I'm like, "No, man, go ahead.
Yeah.
Do your thing, man. Your students are going to feel." They're not going to feel safer, but maybe they'll feel safer, but they're going to be safer if you can show them that. So yeah, you can do that. Will you please let them know where you learned it from?
I equate to what you're saying as like when you make like a soup. Okay, you have a technique, right? Everybody's gonna have their own ingredients in it. Like, some fucking people are gonna like throw some oregano in there, throw some fucking salt in there, right? So at the end, you have the original product, which you said, that one set technique. But nobody really owns it, because everybody's gonna have their own shit into it. Like, everybody's gonna have their own way the soup tastes. They're gonna have their own ingredients in there, salt, oregano. They're gonna add your own flavors of that original base technique and make it your own. But like I said,
once they're blended, they can't be like that. Once the broth is blended, unless you're going through a very
original.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can't. Good luck on scrambling that egg, right?
Yeah. I had to throw some food stuff in there. I like to cook. So I had to throw some fucking food and knowledge in there somewhere. When the show fucking ended, I was like, I got to throw some food talk out of my ass for a couple seconds.
It's soup season too, so.
Oh yeah. Pot roast season, soup season.
This is Blossom, by the way, and the other one that's here, her name is Boo Boo, Blossom and Boo Boo.
Boo Boo.
Nice.
Blossom, Boo, yeah.
Well, I'm not a donkey guy, but I'm a snake guy, so I have a lot of pythons. So
okay, that's cool.
Yeah, but I don't want to bring that one out. It might choke me to death on live stream.
Hey, but Brian, you'll get the views. You'll get the views.
That's what it's all about, right? You want me to do it? Let's go do it right now.
You'll get the views. You'll get the comments. You get the interaction. Yeah. So hey.
Somewhere down the line, I think you really wanted to see that.
We live in a funny world where social media is really what's king, and it's scary and it's sad, but it's not going away.
Mm-hmm. You are right.
No,
definitely right about it.
No, it's not. It's a really bad combination. It's such a powerful tool. It can be used for so much good.
Yeah.
But it's like anything else, just like a weapon, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can use it for good or not. And
evil.
But you allow people to have the reins on it. Yeah, you see what happens.
It's very, very dangerous. Yep.
On the other hand, like I don't really want anybody to come in and regulate, regulate social media, or regulate martial arts, or regulate social media either. Like I don't want that either. That's the paradox. It's like when many years ago I used to teach CCW classes when I was first getting started, and I told them, I'm like, well, while this is compulsory, you have to be here to get this. I want you to know that I don't think it should be compulsory. Because anything that's compulsory is the antithesis to freedom. You can't be mandatory and be freedom at the same time. This is a God-given inalienable right. But on the other hand, you should be here and you should be getting training. So it's going to be up to the individual to do the right thing. And unfortunately, the world, especially the United States, has been so demoralized that that's a well, I don't want to call it a dying breed, but the culture really isn't set up to support it or promote it.
Yeah, which this brings back to an earlier topic that I forgot. So surrendering your free will, surrendering your individual liberties. This is consistently a problem within the martial arts industry, specifically with organizations, because it's attached to a cult of personality and there's a worship process of that individual. So for a organization, people will forego their free will, forego their rights and privileges because the head instructor, the organization says that they aren't compliant to the ethos and culture that is that organization.
Wow.
And it's
what's the root of the word culture?
Cult. Yeah, cult. And I mean, it goes into that groupthink wanting to belong, but it's really interesting, especially as Americans, because I see this a lot with Americans, is that you have so many American people that are willing to give up of their free will to belong to a martial arts cultural group. And it's really sad and scary in some cases. Now, we want to belong. I mean, Brian and I are both veterans. We had a cultural group that we belong to, but we belong to it by contract and by oath. And it's completely different versus somebody who's willing to give up that opportunity for something that they pay for. So, I know, it was an interesting conversation I had with another guest in a previous podcast.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be happy to have that conversation with you another time when we can really sink our teeth into it.
Yeah.
By the way, I think I misspelled my own name. For those who are watching, there's a Y. I'm not surprised I did that. There's a Y on the end of my name. So if you're looking up my last name, it's actually FOSSUY if you want to look me up.
Oh, it's spelled correctly.
No, it's spelled right.
Oh, it is? It's not showing up on my screen correctly.
No,
okay.
Probably just cut off his size there.
But again, that's human nature. And most people make their decisions based on consensus, and they want to be a part of a tribe. And so I think I said this on the last show too. I had someone say to me once on social media, or they wrote a post about me, and they said Todd Fossey is the worst cult leader of all time because his cult is the anti-cult. His cult is exposing cults, But your first warning for those watching should be anybody who has that cult of personality, anybody who is even willing to be in that position.
Yep.
That should be your first red flag.
And I hope when people watch this interview, like the recording of this, they watch with the open mind and don't, pull that, like you said, Todd Fossey is the anti-cult, he's a cult, this and that. They just come with an open mind and listen to what everybody's had to say and absorb the information and then you can make your judgment afterwards or whatever. But there's too many closed-minded people that are watching shows like this and they're going in with the almost like there's a hidden agenda or something. They're going in, I know what's going to be about. He's going to say this. He's going to say that. You know what I mean? But if you really just open your mind and watch and listen to everything that's being said today, people, it's great stuff. That's why we've had him on for part 2, and I'm sure we're gonna have him on part 3. So I mean, it's like we respect you. That's why we always have you on.
I'd be honored. Thank you. I'd be honored. I said a line in that trailer that we showed earlier that just launched today, by the way. I should probably get off here pretty soon because that trailer launched, and so there's going to be a lot of social media. Ironically, a lot of social media stuff I'm going to have to deal with because I said there's a clip of me asking the question. Think of the top 5 firearms instructors on planet Earth. How many of them would have made it through the first 30 minutes of this test with any skill? How many? That's what I say in there, and I asked that question. I asked that question to our group for a reason because I wanted to let them know what they were really capable of. That we just happened to grab that clip, and I want the public to see that and ask themselves that question: how many of them would have made it through the first 30 minutes of it was a 4-day test. Mm-hmm. 4 days. Okay, how many of them would have made it through the first 30 minutes of the first day of that test? And so I'll let the audience answer that question for yourself. But this is what we have to do. We have to start asking questions, critical questions. And that's true of me too. You should be asking questions about me as well, of everybody and of yourself. You should be challenging your own thesis and asking questions about who you are and what you're doing, what your own abilities are as well,
And this is that part about critical thinking, is understanding that you don't know until you know. You have good ideas, you have best guesses, you have data to support potential outcomes, but the universe is chaotic. Combat is chaotic. So you honestly don't know until you know.
And even then, assume you don't.
Yep.
Like Coach Nelson will probably say this to you guys when he's on with you. He has several mottos that are posted up in the Minnesota Martial Arts Academy, and one of them is, well, the first one, their core motto is opera non verba. How's that? Deeds, not words. Yep. They live by that. They live by that, deeds, not words. And the second one is, well, there's several, but one of them is good, better, best, never let it rest. Never satisfied, right? We're never satisfied. We never assume that we have that answer.
Going back to the test, I would have made it the first 30 seconds. That's any consolation. I'm just being honest.
Well, let's watch that again because I screwed up on the audio last time. So for those who missed it in the beginning, here's that the video that we're referencing here, the trailer.
Early certification courses would set the stage for a new paradigm in training for armed citizens. With very few options for instructors who desired a different approach to training, the IDS Apex program would facilitate a new path forward, providing a safe haven for the best instructors and armed citizen defenders in the world.
That's the point.
Minnesota Martial Arts Academy.
We want people good at failing publicly and all of the benefits that come with that.
And these men would take the lead in redefining the meaning of what it means to be a citizen defender and dare to take on the most elite self-defense black belt test in the world.
Oh yeah, this is a good test. This is a real test.
The IDS Apex Octagon Challenge. I handpicked some of my training partners that are more than a handful. They're going to be going up against Olympic hopefuls, world champions, MMA professionals, and the like. Our guys will be carrying a gun.
Mark my words. It's harder to do this when you have a gun on than when you don't.
Fight IQ, being able to adapt to whatever's happening. All of the disciplines are interdependent upon one another. Think of the top 5 firearms instructors on planet Earth. How many of them would have gotten through the first 30 minutes of day one of this test with any level of skill? How many? I'm teaching you how to fight. 9-4. Integrative defense strategy. Fight IQ, the new paradigm in training for armed guardians. We're not teaching you how to be a gunfighter. We're teaching you to be a fighter with a gun. So yeah, we'll be. I'd ask the audience. I'd be honored if you would, check us out on social media, Integrative Defense Strategies on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, other stuff, and watch those episodes that we're going to have coming out over the next 4 or 5 months. And I'd be honored if you would consider what we're doing and consider what we have to say.
Yep, I'll make sure we throw it in the show notes. But yeah, that trailer. Holy crap, dude, that was awesome.
It is, as I told you, it's just fucking intense. I was like, damn.
Because both Brian and I have been into some fairly intensive firearms training due to our time in service. Now, keep in mind, I was never an operator, but even still, to like the level and extent that I was in, it doesn't compare. Now, I know with certain operational groups, it does, but like that level of physical intensity, because like in the case of very low-level unit tactics, like
I gotta tell you though, like one of our affiliates actually teaches the SEAL teams.
Yeah,
that's not publicized, but he teaches our stuff to the SEAL teams.
Oh, wow.
So like
his name is Buck Grant. Anyway.
Oh yeah, Buck Grant's great.
Yeah. And he'll tell you like, no, it's not like they're not at the same level that we are with this.
So my point being is talk about very ground level infantry squad tactics. We do a lot of drilling and training, yes, but to that level of intensity, it's very much like operational. This is how we do the thing. But depending upon the unit, I'm saying this is the unit, the chain of command, and the culture of that unit will vary across the board. But the standard is be able to execute the battle drill, but like the levels of proficiency and excellence in teaching that and the intensity varies. And what your trailer demonstrates is that is the level of intensity that you demand of all within your organization. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. A level of intensity, a level of excellence, and a level of expectation, because we don't have standards. We don't standardize anything because violence is not standardizable. Yep. So we have expectations that are not standards. And like I said in the last show, I get why the military does that. There has to be standardization. There has to be SOP. I get it. You have thousands of people you're moving through training. Everybody has to be on the same page, and I understand how uniform it has to be. But the reality is for us is that it's just not the same, and so we tailor everything to the individual.
And that, part of my point with that is I had an interesting conversation with another instructor friend of mine who's going to be a guest on the show, a gentleman named Doug Raven. He's a personal protection expert. But his question for the Krav Maga community is, why in the Krav Maga community do so many people train in Condition 3? For a lot of people who don't know, that's around...
Because it's Israeli.
There's that. But the other side of that is my quick quip with it is because privates and second lieutenants often cause NDs. And there's tongue-in-cheek. The fact is, I mean, the people who are learning this stuff at the very basic level are the 80%. Eventually, it may become the 10 and the 1%. But like the standardization across the board for entry-level people is it's built on safety and standardization. And this until you get those elite levels that you can start rolling with that expectation of with round and saber. Not saying in training, but I'm saying in everyday competent combat carry. So
that's interesting. That's an interesting thought. I'll chew on that.
I can't tell you how many times that we've come across.
But also you should know this if you don't already. I was groomed to be a high-level instructor within the Krav Maga world. That's where I came up through, and I abandoned it for many reasons, but a long time ago. But in Israel, you can't carry with a round in the chamber at all, and so they don't. So they teach you. They actually teach you not to do that. That's why they have that really weird draw stroke, right, where they're racking while they draw and all that shit. And so I think. That's where a lot of the origins came from within the Krav Maga world.
Yeah, I agree because I have a similar background. What I just find it interesting, the tongue-in-cheek aspect of talking about the expectation and standards, because the expectation for the world is if you're high-level as operators within the field, that common sense dictates you should have a round in chamber. Yes, but why in training that is not the case? And of course, you just explained that. But the very simple standpoint is, at entry level, privates and second lieutenants cause negligent discharges. So this is why we train that way.
I would defer to you. I would believe you, and I defer to you on that because I have no, I'm not qualified to even have an opinion on that because I was never military.
I can't tell you how many times that we've come off the range and there's been a situation like that because
I believe you.
Range stories. That's a whole other show.
Oh yeah.
I believe you. Hey guys, I hate to cut this short. We have 1 second, but I got to jump off because my battery's just about dead. And,
no worries.
And my phone is blowing up because that trailer launched. Thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for letting that trailer be. Shown here on the show and as a part of promoting it, and I'm so grateful for you guys, and for anybody who's listening, thank you so much for listening and considering anything that I've had to say. And just remember, the world wants you to believe that you're toxic because it's in your DNA to be a protector, and there's nothing more honorable than being a protector in this world today. And so anybody who's listening, if you're a protector, you remember that. Be bold about who you are and what you're about, and don't let the world shame you into being anything other than what you are.
Agreed. And thank you for being on here and speaking your truth.
Thank you. We haven't said last year. You'll be on again.
Hey, I would be honored, guys. Thank you so much. I really mean that.
Thank you.
God bless. Be well. Thanks, guys.
Take care.
Todd. Thank you. Well, that was great. Glad you made it on. Running a little late, but I'm glad you made it on, dude.
Oh yeah. I'm always gonna be here. So upcoming. Haven't thought about that yet. So, but this was a great show. This was very great. We're definitely gonna have him on again for another segment with another special guest that was on before. Do that 2 for 2 for show we're talking about.
Yeah, with Rage. We were talking about that earlier on.
Yeah. So, that was good. But I want to thank everybody for watching and hanging out with us. I want to say happy Thanksgiving to everybody because we're not going to be on, obviously, for Thanksgiving. So, enjoy the holidays with your family. And, we'll post out when we'll be on again.
Sweet. Well, everybody wants to stick around tomorrow. I'm going to be on my two FMA nerds talking with Royce Ramos, talking about unification, talking about politics. So that should be a fun doubleheader. But yeah, we'll have the list for the Fight House Talks guest list for the next 2 months coming out here soon. So appreciate everybody.
See y'all later.
Later.